Have you ever been in a room when someone finally says the thing that everyone has been thinking? And for about 3 seconds, nobody knows what to do because you're sitting there thinking, did they really just say that? But then you look around and there it is. The nods, the knowing looks, that little exhale that says, okay, so I'm not the only one who felt that. That happened recently during a farewell speech. Someone who was leaving shared some thoughts that, let's just say, had been living somewhere beneath the surface for a while. They found the right moment, a captive audience. They said what they needed to say, and then they were out. Mic dropped. And while we were all sitting there with our jaws somewhere around the floor, I kept thinking about something. It wasn't just what was said. It was everything that had not been said before that moment. Because sometimes there's a conversation happening underneath the conversation. It's not on the agenda. It's not in the meeting notes, but people feel it. And that's what I want to talk about today.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Office Optimism with me, Sharala. This is a space where we explore practical ways to create healthier workplaces and healthier leaders through optimism, emotional intelligence, and workplace well-being. Let's talk about the conversation behind the conversation. What's being felt but not said? Every workplace has 2 layers of communication. There's what gets said, and then there's everything that people are thinking, feeling, wondering, or worrying about while the conversation is actually happening. Someone may be concerned about a decision, confused about a priority, frustrated by a process, worried about what comes next, or simply unclear about what they're supposed to do. And sometimes they say nothing, not because they don't care, because there's plenty of reasons that people hold back. They may not know how to communicate the concern. They may worry about being labeled difficult. They may fear retaliation. There may be confidentiality requirements or possibly even a signed NDA. The concern may be deeply personal, or possibly they've spoken up before and nothing changed. Eventually, silence can start to feel easier. And that's where we need to pay attention, because silence doesn't always mean agreement. Sometimes it means, I don't know how to say this. And sometimes I don't feel safe saying this. And sometimes, what's the point? And when the last one starts showing up, the conversation behind the conversation can become something much more concerning. It can become withdrawal, when silence becomes apathy. A person rarely wakes up one morning and decides, today I'm gonna stop caring. Apathy can develop gradually. A concern goes unaddressed, a suggestion gets dismissed, a question doesn't get answered, a person stops offering ideas, and then they stop asking questions. Eventually, they learn to do exactly what's required and not much more else. That's why this matters beyond someone's feelings. Organizations need information. Leaders need context. Teams need to understand what's happening around them. And the mission depends on people being willing to contribute what they know. Research on psychological safety, particularly the work of organizational scholar Amy Edmondson, helps explain why this matters. Psychological safety is essentially the shared belief that a team is safe for an interpersonal risk-taking. In everyday language, can I ask the uncomfortable question? Can I admit that I don't understand? Can I raise a concern? Can I disagree respectfully without becoming the problem? That doesn't mean that everybody gets to say everything. And it certainly doesn't mean that every concern will result in the outcome that somebody wants. It means that there is room for people to bring forward information that matters. And that brings us to something very important, because creating that kind of environment doesn't mean telling everyone everything. It means understanding what appropriate transparency actually looks like. Transparency isn't saying everything. Transparency gets misunderstood sometimes. It doesn't mean tell everybody all the business. There are legitimate reasons information can't be shared. Privacy, personnel matters, legal restrictions, pending decisions, and confidentiality. Those boundaries all matter. But transparency can still mean giving people enough context to understand how to operate within their responsibilities. You might not be able to share everything, but you can often explain, what does this mean for us? What can you tell us right now? What should we be considering? What do we need to do differently? There's a difference between saying, I can't discuss that, and leaving people with absolutely no context. Sometimes the healthier response is, I can't share the details, but here is what I can tell you. And that little bit of context can make a tremendous difference, because people don't need omniscience. They need enough understanding to make informed decisions within their area of responsibility. And that means creating healthier workplaces isn't just about encouraging people to speak. It's also about creating room to listen. Create the opening. If you're an employee and you have something important to say, you don't necessarily need to have the perfect words. Start with what you know. Here's what I'm seeing. Here's why I'm concerned. Here's how this is affecting the work. Or here's what I think we should consider. And if it's not something that you can safely or appropriately raise in your immediate environment, find the right channel. The goal isn't forced disclosure. It's having somewhere appropriate for important concerns to go. And if you're a leader, you have another opportunity. Instead of assuming silence means that everything is fine, get curious and ask, what am I missing? What would help you to execute this well? Is there something that we haven't talked about? And then listen. Don't prepare your response. Listen to understand. Because sometimes the most important information in the room isn't the information that's being volunteered. It's the information that people aren't sure that they can share. Here's your joyful point. Think about one conversation happening around you this week and consider whether there might be another conversation underneath it. You don't have to force it open, just create a little room. Ask, what am I missing? Or, is there anything about this that we haven't talked about yet? And if someone trusts you enough to answer, listen before you solve. You may not be able to change everything that they share, but you can make it a little safer to say what needs to be said. And if faith is a part of your foundation, Proverbs 18:13 offers a simple reminder to answer before listening. That is folly and shame. Sometimes the healthiest thing that we can bring into a conversation isn't an answer, it's attention. It's curiosity. It's the willingness to listen long enough to discover that we didn't know what was there. Let that steady you. We've now made it to the Office Optimism focal point. Here's what I hope you remember. Create room for the conversation behind the conversation. A healthy workplace doesn't require everyone to say everything. It requires people to understand what can be shared, where it can be shared, and that raising a concern doesn't automatically make them the concern. Because silence isn't always agreement. And when people stop believing that their voice matters, they may not leave. They may simply stop contributing in the same way. That's not just a communication issue. It can become a workplace issue, a leadership issue, and eventually a mission issue. So the next time that you're in a meeting and everything sounds fine, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is there a conversation happening underneath this one? And if you're in a position to create the space, make room, ask the question, listen, stay curious, because sometimes people don't need you to have the answer. They need to know that there's room for the truth. Thank you for spending a few moments with me today. Until next time, keep listening, keep creating room for healthy conversations, and as always, keep shining. Bye-bye.